Close followers of the Canadian Armed Forces equipment procurements of the past 2 decades will recall a continuing pattern of flip-flops and dithering leading to billions of dollars in increased costs. The F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, soon to be the CF-35, is a prime example of that. Therefore, when the Trudeau Liberals announced their long-awaited defense policy update on Monday, April 8th, it did not take the skeptics long to take to social media to criticize the policy paper. While the announced spending hike is enormous, the Canadian defense budget is to nearly double to a staggering $50 billion by the end of this decade. Those critics have good reason to believe that little of what is promised in the DPU will ever see the light of day. It is time to target the track record of successive Canadian governments, both Liberal and Conservative, when it comes to equipping our military.
Come on, Charlie Brown. I'll hold the ball and you kick it.
Comic strip aficionados will recall the Peanuts character Lucy perpetually convincing Charlie Brown that this time she will hold the football in place so that he might
kick that football clear to the moon.
Inevitably, at the last minute, Lucy snatches the ball away and Charlie Brown ends up flat on his back, swearing to never again trust Lucy's word. Only a foolish military analyst, and there have been a few out there, would hail this current DPU as a solid building block to rebuild our badly depleted CAF. For those who remain unconvinced that when it comes to the Canadian military, government promises are meant to be broken, here is a short peek back down memory lane. Back in 2003, the Canadian Army had a battle group deployed to Afghanistan, and as insurgent resistance was stiffening, Canadian commanders realized that they would need better protection and more firepower. Thus, it was announced that Canada would spend $600 million to purchase 66 mobile gun systems, MGS, from General Dynamics Land Systems. This was controversial among senior Army commanders who were hoping to acquire new main battle tanks instead. The MGS are based upon a light armored vehicle, wheeled chassis, with the addition of a 105mm gun for fire support. Doubters of this purchase were put in their place by then Chief of the Defense Staff General Rick Hillier. A former armor officer, Hillier was of the opinion that main battle tanks were at that juncture, quote, Cold War relics. Fortuitously, the MGS purchase never went ahead, and Canada ended up borrowing Leopard 2 main battle tanks from Germany to support our troops in Kandahar. In 2005, there was a lot of fanfare when the government announced they were investing $750 million to produce 30 multi-mission effects vehicles. The MMEVs were to become the nucleus of our ground forces' combat fire support. The concept was in fact a marriage of the air defense anti-tank system known by the acronym ADATS, mounted on a LAV-3 chassis. The ADATS had been built in Canada immediately after the Cold War ended and had been mothballed almost immediately. Alas, as events unfolded, they have remained in mothballs as the MMEV project was quietly cancelled. By 2009, the Army realized that it needed something heavier than a LAV-3 in Afghanistan, and they needed it on an urgent basis. The Army wanted to buy the Swedish Combat Vehicle 90 off the shelf, but bureaucracy prevailed. A competition was then launched to ascertain which Close Combat Vehicle, CCV, would be best suited for Canada's future Army. The project called for the purchase of 108 CCVs at a cost of $2.1 billion, and they were to be the backbone of our combat forces for the foreseeable future. After 2 rounds of what was called testing to destruction, the 3 remaining bidders, BAE Systems, Nexter, and General Dynamics Land Systems, were informed that the whole deal was off. Given that our combat mission in Afghanistan was concluded, the Harper Conservatives killed the procurement to save money.
This aircraft is the best aircraft that we can provide our men and women in uniform, and this government is committed to giving them the very best.
It was the Harper Conservatives who had also originally announced in 2010 that they would buy 65 Lockheed Martin F-35 Joint Strike Fighters to replace the RCAF's 80 CF-18s at a purchase cost of $9 billion. The first delivery of these CF-35s was to be late 2016. However, in 2015, the Trudeau Liberals ran on the promise that if elected, they would scrap the Conservatives' plans to purchase the controversial CF-35 Joint Strike Fighters. Once elected, Trudeau did scrap the initiative to buy the F-35s, and the Liberals subsequently ordered the RCAF to hold a competition to determine the CF-18's best possible replacement. Lo and behold, the F-35 won the competition, and the price tag is now $19 billion for 88 aircraft, the first of which will not be delivered until 2026. For the long-suffering Royal Canadian Navy, nothing exemplifies their dangling carrot of procurement promises better than the saga to replace the now long-retired HMCS Protector-class supply ships. First announced in 2004, the original timeline called for a contract to be signed by 2009, with the first of 3 ships delivered and in service by 2012. There is now only 2 such ships on the order book, and the first will not be delivered until 2025, with the second due in 2027. The cost has continued to climb. So, when the Liberals table a DPU in 2024 promising $73 billion in additional defense spending over the next 20 years, forgive me if I do not believe that this time Trudeau is going to kick it to the moon. This has been On Target. I'm Scott Taylor.